Good morning. And welcome on this beautiful, sunny, snowy day. Now that the streets are clear and we could get out and just enjoy the snow until it rains later this week and melts it and makes a mess. So anyway, you are welcome here, whoever you are, old or young, rich or poor, gay or straight or whatever the color of your skin or your ethnic or religious background, you are welcome here. We are blessed to be here together to share truths, stories, and spirituality in this beautiful place, which sits on the traditional territory of the Haudenosaunee people, who continue to call for justice and self-determination. The more observant among you will have noticed that I am not Charlene Montgomery, who was on last week at our virtual service, but we're doing last week's service today, except that I'm the worship associate. I'm Fran Manley. Good morning. And I am pleased to be here with our wonderful interim minister, Cathy Harrington. One change, what's not in your order of service is the flowers today, which are the gift of Molly Quackenbush. So thank you, Molly. Is Molly here? We usually have that printed in the order of service, but it's not, didn't make it because this is also last week's order of service. A couple of announcements. Today, as you might have smelled coming in, is Super Sunday. So plan to stay after church and get yourself a wonderful bowl of soup and have some wonderful conversation with your neighbors around the table. Also after church today is the last of 4 scheduled meetings about our upcoming capital fund drive. That's at 11:45 right here in the sanctuary. If you wonder what's happening, what's going to happen, what will be expected of you, what's it all about, why are we even doing this, you can get your questions answered at that meeting. Martha. Okay, thank you. I was wondering how that would work for people who wanted soup and information, so that solves it. Also, the band book club, which was normally scheduled to meet last week, was, no surprise, canceled. So it will be meeting this Wednesday, 7 p.m. in the Marge Gardner room to discuss Go Tell It on the Mountain by James Baldwin. There will also be a special showing of the film I Am Not Your Negro in the sanctuary February 2nd after the service, the film about James Baldwin. So keep that in mind. There are lots more announcements in the insert in your order of service, and if I read them all, that would be our whole service. Are you telling me something, Jessie?
She wants to say something.
You want to say something. All right, in a minute. I've got 2 people. You got somebody else to come up to. I'll get you. You're supposed to tell me sooner.
Oh, it's my fault.
Oh, you told Cathy. Okay. All right. Anyway, besides what Jessie's going to tell you and what Bobby Withrow's going to tell you in a minute, there are lots of other wonderful things in this insert. So make sure you take it home and read it and put it up on your fridge and don't miss anything. All right. Let's see. Who shall I get first? Bobby. Bobby Withrow has important words for us.
Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Bobby Withrow, and I'm the current president of the Board of Trustees. Just to let you all know, the postcard for the upcoming winter congregational meeting has gone out, and of course it's delayed because, as the common theme this morning, snow. So I'm going to be your postcard for the morning. There is a winter congregational meeting next Sunday, which is January 28th, here in the sanctuary at 12 o'clock. The agenda for the meeting is pretty short and simple. It'll be approving the minutes from our previous 2 congregational meetings, the fall one and our special congregational meeting that we held in December. And then it'll also be to elect a new slate of Board of Trustees members. We will actually be having 4 positions up for voting of the 7. So please everyone show up for this to be a meeting that will actually matter. We need a quorum. So please show up, everyone. Thanks. Thanks, Ryan.
Which reminds me, there is also a meeting next week, right, Cathy? Yeah, there's a meeting, informational meeting about green burial for people who are interested in learning more about that and what possibilities are. That will take place after the congregational meeting in the Marge Gardner room? In the Marge Gardner room. I'm not sure whether that's in the printed announcements or not. Alliance room. It'll be in the Alliance room. And we'll announce that next week again, too, to make sure you go to the right room. And now, the amazing Dr. Jessie Downs has something for you.
Okay, I'll try to make this quick. My opera company, Sotto Voce, is putting on Mozart's The Magic Flute on February 23rd and 25th. You may already be aware of this. Starting today after service in the parish hall, we will have a little table where you can do a few things. You can purchase tickets. You can do that online, but there's some additional fees. So if you want to pay cash, check, or there's Venmo, PayPal, I think a few different options directly. That's one way to get your tickets a little more cheaply. And also we could really really use some volunteer support for things like running the door, helping with setup and breakdown, and if you're able to help really in any way or want to see if something might fit with your availability and skill sets, we'd really, really appreciate it. It takes a lot of people to make this happen. It's going to be fabulous. Thank you so much for your support.
All right, that is enough announcements. Let's take a few minutes after a whole week where some of us I know have just been stuck inside with only whoever happens to live with us, if anybody does. It's nice to see other people. Let's take a few minutes to greet our neighbors. We're getting a little informal here.
Yeah, it's all right. And that's good. Flexibility. It's getting hot again in here. Good morning. It truly is good to be together again. It's so good to see all of your faces. And I'm just so impressed with Buffalo and how everybody just gets out there in this weather. And I'm learning. Yesterday I walked my dog and we took a shortcut through a little, it looked like a path. We were stuck at the Unity Church and then we were cutting through to my apartment, and somebody had walked there, and I let her go first, and she went completely under the snow. I had to pull her out. She was relatively unfazed. I was more upset than her. Our opening words this morning are by Joe Von Rue and Lynette Lowe. Welcome to this space, this sanctuary of peace where we come to not only create our best selves, but also to do the work of creating a beloved community. We come together today as individuals, much like individual pieces of glass or pottery that are different shapes, sizes, and colors, all of which are broken, with imperfect, jagged edges, but always beautiful. While our pieces may not neatly fit together, it is within this sanctuary, guided by our principles, that we gather together to create a beautiful mosaic. May the brokenness and the beauty you find in one another create peace in this space and fill our hearts with love as we create worship together.
We light the flame of commitment to stand with and work to create change until all know that they are beloved.
We light the flame of survival, grateful for our lives, remembering in love those lost along the road.
We light the flame of change, committing to recenter toward love in hearts, in minds, in our world.
We light the flame of hope, loving each other, building community, even when it's uncomfortable.
We light the flame of knowledge, following the path of justice, justice that is love embodied.
We light this flame of radical love to speak out for those who have been silenced,
those who have been rejected for who they love,
those who have been persecuted for who they are,
those who have been bullied for daring to be bold,
and those who have been othered and forced into the margins,
those who have been lonely,
those who have been hurt,
those who are still hurting.
We light this flame as a people committed. We are survivors.
We will change the world until no one lives without hope, until no one lives without justice.
We light this flame and pledge that in love, with love, and through love, all things are possible.
Please rise in body or spirit, and let's say together our words in the order of service for lighting the chalice. We gather in loving community, creating a shared vision of compassion and dignity for all, to radically transform the world in which we live. And now let us sing hymn number 300 in your gray hymnal with heart and mind.
Now it's time for our story for all ages. I'm excited. This is my favorite story of all time. I need a chair, I think, or I could sit on the floor. Maybe I'll... Okay, everybody, this is my favorite story. It's called Clancy, the Courageous Cow by Latchy Hume. Clancy was born on a stormy day, a day of great disappointment for his parents. You see, they belonged to a herd of belted Galloways, but Clancy had no belt. He was beltless. As Clancy grew up, all the other cows treated him like an outcast. Clancy tried hard to give himself a belt. He rolled in the snow, but it soon melted off. He tied a bandage around his middle, but it gave him a tummy ache. He sprinkled sugar on his coat, but the ants drove him crazy. He even painted a white stripe around himself, but it washed off in the rain. Clancy was different, and nothing could be done about it. Nevertheless, his parents loved him dearly. The belted Galloways lived on poor grass. They were all skinny, and the field next to them was full of rich grass and fat Herefords. The Herefords held the grazing rights to their field since they won the cow wrestling contest, which was held every year. The belted Galloways were trapped in a vicious cycle. The Herefords grew big and strong on the rich grass. They always won the contest. This gave them grazing rights for yet another year. Oh, they were awful, weren't they? Get out of here, dumb Herefords. Some nights, the belted Galloways tried to sneak into the Herefords' field to graze, but their white belts always glowed in the dark and gave them away. One night, Clancy slipped in the Herefords' field to try his luck, and nobody chased him out. He was invisible in the dark. They didn't see him. So the next night, as Clancy grazed, he bumped into another cow. "Who is that?" asked Clancy. "I am Helga," answered the cow. "I am a totally brown Hereford." Like Clancy, Helga had always been picked on because she was different. So Clancy and Helga hit it off immediately, and they grazed together every night. At first, only Clancy's mom and dad noticed how big he was getting. And then one day, he bumped into the president of the belted Galloways and sent her flying. She started to bawl him out, and then she stopped in amazement. Clancy was enormous. Surely a cow as big as this could win the cow wrestling contest. "Make us proud, Clancy." The very important belted Galloways decided that being beltless wasn't such a bad thing, and that Clancy would represent the herd at the cow wrestling contest. Several retired wrestlers trained Clancy and taught him their favorite holds and maneuvers: the cud cruncher, the hind quarter drop, and the ruminator. The ruminator. The helicopter, the cow whisperer, and the windmill. On the day of the match, Clancy pinned his opponent in record time and won the contest. We have a new champion. And so now it was time for the belted Galloways to enjoy the rich grass. They began to chase the Herefords out of the field, and suddenly a voice rang out. It was Clancy. Helga stood next to Clancy. "This situation has gone on for too long," said Clancy. "Black, white, or brown, we are all cows. I say we pull down the fence and be cows together." And after a little while, the belted Galloways and the Herefords began to get along very well. Of course, there was plenty of grass for everybody. And Klanga was born on a sunny day, a day of great joy for her parents. The end. Now you know why it's my favorite story. And so, little ones, what was your favorite part of the story? What was your favorite part? Ah, when he met Helga? Yeah. What about you? What do you think the major? Oh, the baby, Klanga. Yeah, wasn't Klanga cute? I like the idea that they understood that it wasn't fair, was it, for one herd to eat all the grass and the other one's not. Okay, thank you for being so attentive, and I look forward to seeing you next Sunday. Enjoy your classes.
Each week, as you know, we take a good portion of our Sunday offering and give it away to a social justice cause outside our church walls. This month, we're supporting Our Mommy Village. Our Mommy Village is based on the belief that every mother deserves a robust village. It has grown from humble beginnings into a vibrant community hub, offering doula services, breastfeeding consultations, healthy lifestyle encouragement through weekly lunches, bi-weekly village meetups, and extended postpartum care lasting up to a year. To support our church and our Share the Plate ministry, you can drop a check or cash in the offering plate, or you can check your insert or the e-blast to find out about all the other ways to give. If your offering is in the form of a check, please indicate on the memo line whether it is for Share the Plate ministry or your 2024 pledge. Let us give generously to support our church and its wide concerns.
This, my friend, is only the beginning, such a sweet beginning too. Now at last I see a chance of winning, see a chance of breaking through. And say today may live in history as long as there's a history book. Yesterday the world was still a mystery. Today it has a new and different look. So my friend, let's send the old world spinning. Change is what I recommend. Come on, my friend, let's see this sweet beginning through to the bitter end. Through to the bitter end. And say today may live in history as long as there's a history book. Yesterday the world was still a mystery. Today it has a new and different look. So my friend, let's send that old world spinning. Change is what I recommend. Come on, my friend, let's see this sweet beginning through to the bitter end. Through to the bitter end.
In the center of our service and in the center of our lives, let us pause to honor the silences of the world. Let us open our hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. prayer I have for you this morning was written by Amanda Poppy. It's called The Home That Love Made. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love that the founders felt when they planned out these walls and raised these beams above us. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of all who have worshiped here, those who have celebrated and grieved here, the babies dedicated, the couples married, and family members mourned here. This is the home that love made. It is full of the love of our children as they learn and laugh together, and our youth as they grow into their own sense of purpose and meaning. It is full of love. It is full of the love of the people who have served it, full of the hopes for the congregation, their hard work and their years and acts of dedication. It is full of the love of the choir, the love made so clear in the voices lifted here on Sunday morning, and it is the home that love made. It is full of our love, the love of this community despite our differences, maybe even disagreements, the love that holds us together as a people. This is the home that love made. Can you feel it? May that love be with us always. Amen. And now let us think of those in our hearts that we love, those that we know of who are hurting, who are in pain, who are in need of healing, and those who are celebrating. I invite you now to speak their names aloud into this beautiful sacred space. The spirit of love surrounds us. The spirit of love is within us. May we know that we are all blessed and loved. May it be so. May the church say amen.
This is the sound of one voice, one people, one voice, a song for every one of us. This is the sound of one voice. This is the sound of one voice.
Now I'd like to welcome those new members up to the front for a little ceremony. Please notice, bring your insert that's in your order of service, and all of you can take that out. Well, I was going to use this microphone. Isn't this wonderful?
Excuse me.
Oh, did I drop my...
I got it.
Here in this church, human beings have gathered for well over 100 years, seeking a higher purpose and a deeper life than they could not find alone. We are grateful for each one of you here today, that you have found your way here and that you've decided to make a commitment to this church, this faith community. We hope that as a member of this church, you will allow yourselves to be known and to know and to let us minister to you and for you to minister be unto to us, yes, to love and be loved by this congregation. The relationships we form in this church are based on the needs of the soul, needs that render us vulnerable and therefore reliant on each other's grace, goodness, and generosity of spirit. As members of this church, we pledge to be guardians of each other's spirit, to respect the ultimate privacy of each one's human struggle, and to believe in each one's inherent dignity. So I want to introduce them to you, Holly and Derek Dickerson, on the end there. They met while art students at Fredonia 30 years ago, Fredonia University, and have recently returned to Western New York to make their home in Elmwood Village. In search of a loving and sacred space to grow and give, they began attending UUCB about a year ago, excited to continue their spiritual journey together with the UUCB community. Derek and Holly will be getting married in this church coming in June. It is exciting. And then I have the Ronan family. A blended family who live in Buffalo. Brian and Nikki work as consultants in Buffalo's nonprofit sector at the City of Light Creative and Consulting, a business that Nikki owns. And they said they're excited to join the fold. We have been attending services since fall, and our daughter Eleanor loves RE. Eleanor is a budding cello player and a ballerina, and Riley is studying art and education at Elmira College. Finley is studying theater, production, and design at Ithaca College. Welcome. And Jackie and Ryan White, yay, right here, have been married for 2 years, and they're expecting twins in May. Yay! Babies. Oh, we're happy you're here too. I get excited about babies. They love going to the dog park with their girl Ren. What kind of dog is Ren?
Cathy and Mike.
A mutt,
Yeah,
a wonderful mutt.
She's wonderful.
And they love spending time with family, and they too are excited to be a part of our UUCB beloved community. Dan McCardle, there. Is that how you say it, McCardle? McCardle is from Fishkill, New York. He moved to Buffalo in 2008, but has been living in Toronto for the past 2 years. He moved back to Buffalo this summer after a difficult time and discovered UUCB in July. He told me he walked by here many times for a long time. He and his father, who attends when he visits, enjoyed the services and meeting so many wonderful people. He likes that he's found an amazing and supportive community and looks forward to becoming a part of it. He currently works at a startup on east side of Buffalo making lithium-ion batteries, ion batteries for energy storage applications. In his spare times, he enjoys learning, spending time with friends, and being outside. also he's a big brother. Thank you, Dan. Welcome. Mark Forel was born and raised in Buffalo, attended Cathedral Grammar School, Hutch Tex High School, Buffalo State College, and UB. His family belonged to St. Joseph's New Cathedral, where he was an altar boy and in the choir during his youth. His career included electrical construction in his 20s and then family and manufacturing engineering in the last 40-plus years. Currently, he's working as an engineering consultant for a startup pharmaceutical company in Dunkirk. Mark's into physical fitness and is an avid swimmer and a runner. He is currently serving as the VP of the Buffalo Marathon. Okay, we have one more. Is everybody here? Did I get everybody? Wonderful. Okay, so now, new members, we'd like you to recite the words for the new members in the sheet together. We enter this faith
With hope and possibility in our hearts, pledging to participate in and support the ministries of this church. We covenant to remain true to the spirit of love that flows through this church and guides us. We seek your welcome as we join you in this faith.
And congregation, it's your turn. Read the congregational welcome. We rejoice. Wonderful, thank you. And so now I extend the right hand of fellowship to all of you. I also have a plant. Normally we give people a rose, but then it dies. So I decided to give them cacti from our lovely plant store down the street because they're really sturdy and they last forever. So you can each pick one. There's one for all of you, and then pick up for couples, pick up one card which gives you care instructions. There's a couple that they call pickle cactus. I've never heard of that before. You take another.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yep, you're each your own, right? That's right, we don't see you just as a couple or babies. Thank you, welcome. Welcome to the church. Let's welcome them.
If you looked at the back side of the little sheet you were just reading from, you notice there are two questions on it, which Reverend Cathy will be asking you to contemplate in a little bit. This is not in your order of service, but it's happening anyway, this piece. Cathy asked me if I would do if I would do a little reflection on one of these questions to get us started on this. And I thought about it a while, and here it is. When I was in seminary, we once had a speaker, an expert on congregational life, I can't remember his name, who commented on how paradoxical it seems that church seems to be the place where we are least likely to talk to each other about the things that are most deeply important to us. Over the years, sadly, I have had to admit that I've sometimes found that to be true. Time and time again, one-on-one or in groups, I've seen us approach a topic of serious concern only to shy away into easy, superficial answers when really engaging the question threatened to be too, well, threatening. But time and again, I've also been in conversations that proved that speaker wrong. Conversations that went deep, that challenged us to think about something in a new way, that challenged us to reconsider something we had been sure was true and important. Conversations that challenged some of our deep loves and loyalties and helped us see what we are truly called to do. These moments can happen anywhere, in a workshop, covenant group, a class, even, Lord knows, a committee meeting. For me these days, they often happen in the check-in conversation that opens a meeting of the worship associates. When somebody raises a seemingly innocuous question, and suddenly we go very deep as we try to answer it. Things like this are often, maybe usually, unplanned, not on any official agenda. They happen when somebody asks the question we've been talking around, and we are brave enough to respond from a deeper place than usual. Brave enough to have our deep loves and loyalties challenged. Brave enough to see what those loves and loyalties call us to do. Out of all the wonderful things that can happen in a church community, all the ways that we can unveil the bonds that tie each to all, singing together, worshiping together, working together, sharing meals, caring for one another. These moments of depth and courage are what is most precious to me in our free church community. For me, this is where we come closest to the heart of what the free church is about.
I love being a Unitarian Universalist. It took me a really long time to find you. I was in my late 30s before I found the Unitarian Universalist Church in Clemson, South Carolina. By then, my children had become one a Baptist, the other a Mormon, and the oldest a heathen. I regret that I had not been able to raise them in the Unitarian Universalist Church, so those of you who are bringing young people into this church, I envy you. They all turned out okay, and the Mormon is now a rabid atheist, so I don't know what to do with him. He's great. So, there's a lot of misunderstanding about our UU faith. I didn't really understand who Unitarians were. I really didn't even know they existed. So there's lots of jokes, and Garrison Keillor, picks fun at us all the time. Unitarian Universalism, where all your answers are questioned. This is one of my favorites. There was a woman who was injured in a car accident, and a bystander rushed to her assistance, and he yells to onlookers, "Call a priest." Breathless, she sputters, "I'm a Unitarian." So the man yells, "Call a math teacher." There aren't very many Unitarians in Wyoming, the state of Wyoming, and recently, when one died, the family approached a Methodist minister and asked her if she would perform the service. She said she'd be happy to do so, but first she had to check in with her bishop in Denver for permission. A few days later, she received his reply, "Permission granted, bury all the Unitarians you can." These are terrible jokes. A UU minister saw a child out in front of a house in the neighborhood she drives through on her way to church. In front of the neighborhood, in the front of the church, there was a sign that said, "Adorable Methodist kittens, free." A couple days later, the kid posted in front of the synagogue with a sign that said, "Adorable Jewish kittens, free." The minister wasn't surprised then when next Sunday the child is in front of her church with a sign that says, "Adorable Unitarian Universalist kittens, free." And she said to the child, "Now really, they are adorable, but I have a problem with your advertising. I see your kittens have changed their religion every week. Why do you think I'll believe that these are UU kittens now?" "Well," said the child, "now they have their eyes open." I don't know where these came from. What does the KKK do when they find out a Unitarian has moved into their neighborhood? They burn a question mark on his lawn. All right, this is the last one, I promise. 3 children are talking about their religion together, and one child says, "I'm a Catholic, and our symbol is the cross." "I'm Jewish," said the second, "and our symbol is the Star of David." And the third child said, "I'm a Unitarian Universalist, and our symbol is a candle in a cocktail glass." So I had to, a cocktail glass, oh dear. So isn't it serious that we get serious about our chosen faith? We need to teach our children that lighting a chalice is not a candle in a cocktail glass, that it's a meaningful symbol of Unitarian Universalism. Our flaming chalice represents hope. The stories of how the flaming chalice became important are found on the UUA website. So briefly, I'll just say that the chalice and the flame were brought together as a Unitarian symbol by Austrian artist and political cartoonist Hans Doce in 1941. He was living in Paris during the 1930s, and he drew critical cartoons of Adolf Hitler. He had to flee Paris and go to France, to the south of France, and then to Spain. And finally, he went into Portugal. There he met Reverend Charles Joy. He was the executive director of the Unitarian Service Committee. The Service Committee was new, having been founded in Boston, to assist Eastern Europeans, among them Unitarians as well as Jews. From his Lisbon headquarters, Joy oversaw a secret network of couriers and agents. He felt that this new unknown organization needed a visual image to represent Unitarianism to the world, especially when dealing with government agencies abroad, and this symbol could be understood even if the language wasn't. Noreen Kimball described it this way. For his drawing, Doce borrowed an old symbol of strength and freedom from Czechoslovakia, a chalice with a flame. Reverend Joy wrote to his friends in Boston that the new symbol seemed to show the real spirit of Unitarian religion. It showed a chalice or cup that was used for giving healing drink to others. And it showed a flame on top of the chalice because a flame was often used to represent the spirit of helpfulness and sacrifice. And so the flaming chalice became the symbol of the Unitarian Service Committee. And the second story begins with a martyr and courageous forerunner of the Reformation, Jan Hus, who was a Czech priest excommunicated and condemned by the Council of Constance for his extensive heretical writings and for challenging the corruption of the church. The book that they tied to his leg when he was burned at the stake was called The Errors of the Trinity. So the sacrificial flame has become a central symbol for the world's oldest scriptures, the Vedic hymns of India. A flame can symbolize witness, sacrifice, testing, courage, and illumination. And so when we light our chalice every Sunday morning as a symbol of our faith, we are committing ourselves, in effect, to give our abilities, our knowledge, our strength, and our hope to serve the greater good. Reverend Dr. Davidson Lohr's interpretation included Jan Hus. He said, and that flame, that light, we like to think we have to offer. More light we have to offer, a different and better way of seeing things, even if it is highly unorthodox. That, too, is the style of that old priest whose life and death in some way we honor every time we look at the symbol of the flaming chalice. Because till it's shared with others, there is no communion. Nobody cares what Unitarians think. Nobody cares what Presbyterians busy themselves with inside their walls. The world only cares whether our religion has filled us up enough so that there is some overflow that might share light and sustenance with those outside our walls. And this is the communion that our world needs from those who style ourselves religious. Mark Twain famously said, people are accepted into a church for what they believe and turned out for what they know. And it's too bad Twain, who was born 10 years after the American Unitarian Association was founded, didn't find the Unitarians. He would have fit in perfectly, don't you think? So Unitarian theologian James Luther Adams, known as JLA in Unitarian scholarly circles, said, church is a place where you get to practice what it means to be human. And I know you've probably heard me say this before. His favorite definition of God is community forming power. Today, when we celebrate our newest members who have chosen to join this church and our Unitarian Universalist faith, I hope that those of you who have been members or UUs for many years or even since birth will take this opportunity to recommit to your faith and to this beloved community. What does it mean to be a Unitarian Universalist? Theologian Howard Thurman called commitment a fundamental act of human sovereignty, a choice that beckons, defines, and is available to every human being, no matter our circumstance, no matter how gifted or deprived. And commitment expresses and reminds us of the power of choice that each of us yields in every moment to define ourselves and the reality, even if we can't control them. Thurman declared, "I can choose the things for which I shall stand and work and live. To yield this right is to fail utterly my own self and all the others on whom I must depend. The highest role of freedom is the choice that will make my life not only a benediction, breathing peace, but also a vital force of redemption to all I touch." And so this is why we are here in this church right now, to be sanctuary to one another. And so I want you to take a couple minutes to look at your piece of paper that's in your order of service and think about, answer those questions on the back of the script for the membership. What is most precious to you about this church? And what is your hope and your dream for this church 5 years from now, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years? Who will they say you are? Just take a couple minutes. After the service is over, we'll eat soup at the tables, and I hope that if you stay, you will talk to one another and share your ideas and dreams. And if you're online, please type into the chat any thoughts that you have. What is most precious to you about this church? What would you miss if it was gone? Addressing her congregation during a worship service to underscore the importance and power of a church community, Victoria Safford quoted Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel. What then is sanctuary? The sanctuary is often something very small, not a grandiose gesture, but a small gesture towards alleviating human suffering and preventing humiliation. The sanctuary is a human being. The sanctuary is a dream. And she went on to tell her congregation, "This is why you are here, and that is why I am here. We are because of one another. We are here because of one another. We are in truth each other's sanctuary, each other's shelter. Sanctuary means everything." We ask that you find and create sanctuary here. We ask you to be sanctuary to each other. We ask you to be human beings, to care. Oh, I've lost my place, hold on. To care for and weave. That's the wrong one. Sorry, hold on. Too many parts to this sermon. Keep writing. talk amongst yourselves. We ask you to be human beings, to care for each other, to teach each other's children, to risk confessing your faith to each other, but first, to risk finding it. We ask that you defend free faith, to understand that this is a rare and fragile place, a temple of free speech dedicated to spiritual pluralism, to intellectual wandering, and to mystical wondering. We ask that you defend free faith, and with these days, it is no easy task. When we are called heretics, blasphemers, pagans, we ask you to clear your throat and stand up and say, and we too have a worthy faith, and we too have family values, and we too have good news to share with the masses. We ask you to run this place, to claim ownership, to love the building till it shines, to organize the committees and join them and share them and envision them for them a worthy mission. We ask you to pour the coffee and come to work parties, to fold the newsletter, bring flowers. We ask you to celebrate our pride in being a welcoming congregation and to bear witness, to greet hate, ignorance, and ignorance with appropriate rage and appropriate dignity. And we ask that you stand tall. We ask that you usher, greet, bring food, wash dishes, play music, water plants, and to sustain this church financially. And we ask you to weave together a sturdy and gorgeous quilt, because without you, this building doesn't stand. Without you, this ministry doesn't stand. The staff fall down, the lights go out, and the religious education shuts down. This is the meaning of membership in any church community. This is what creates beloved community and sustains it for the next 20 or 30 years from now. This beautiful sacred space can be a sanctuary for those seeking and needing a sacred space, a sacred home. It can be a church that will rouse people to the true meaning of what it is to be human. As James Luther Adams said, to practice what it means being human. Each of you, in your own way, has helped this church be this kind of devoted, welcoming, labor of love community, and the kind of self-governing and self-sustaining community that it most needs and wants to be. Founded in 1831, this sacred space has been a nurturing spiritual home, educating, comforting, and challenging people since 1907. It is still here, making the world a better place because of you. And because of you, I want to say thank you for this most amazing gift. And I want you to turn to each other and say thank you, because everyone here in this room has contributed to the well-being of this church. Thank you. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 323, Break Not the Circle.
Oh
remain standing as we say together the words for extinguishing our chalice. As we extinguish the flame of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love.
For all who seek God, may God go with you. For all who seek a better path, may the way be found and the courage to take it, step by step by step. And for all who embrace life, may life return your affection. Go in peace, and blessed be.